The chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with whispers. Hundreds of species sat in their shining seats, their eyes fixed on the center of the hall. The matter of Earth had returned once again, and this time, there would be no escape from decision. For many in the galaxy, humans were a strange problem. They came late to the stars, yet spread faster than most expected. They built colonies in harsh places where other species could never live. They mined asteroids too dangerous for Council fleets. And worst of all, they carried the reputation of being violent, reckless, and unpredictable. The Council speaker, a tall insectoid from the Tsar Dominion, raised his claws for silence. Today we discuss peace with the humans. Their place in the galaxy must be settled. A ripple of laughter moved across the chamber. The delegates of softer, older species leaned back in comfort. To them peace was only a word. What they meant was control. They are Deathworlders, hissed a delegate from the Grax Confederacy. Violent by nature. If they are allowed freedom, they will burn worlds. Another voice added, peace is simple. They must disarm. Their fleets must be broken apart. Earth must obey the laws of the Council, or they will be destroyed. The chamber agreed. The vote was swift. The Council's terms were prepared. When the terms were read aloud, even some of the younger species shifted uneasily. Earth was to give up all major weapons. Earth was to obey every order of the Council. Earth was to remain under constant supervision, never allowed to build large war fleets. To the Council this was mercy. To humanity it would mean chains. Still, the alien leaders smiled to themselves. In their minds, the decision was already made. Humans would submit. They always imagined that humans feared extinction more than they valued freedom. The Council speaker finished with cold certainty. Deliver the terms to Earth. They will surrender or they will be erased. The order was sent across the stars, wrapped in the proud seal of the Council. Days passed. Then weeks. No answer came from Earth. Confusion began to spread through the chambers. The Grax ambassador hissed in annoyance. Why do they delay? Fear keeps them silent. They will bow in time. But others were less certain. A soft-voiced envoy from the Varen League whispered, it is strange. Humans are never quiet. Why do they say nothing now? The Council mocked the worry. Because they are weak, said the Tsar speaker. Because they understand their place. Till, the silence stretched. Alien fleets were ordered to move closer to Sol, humanity's home system. Spies were sent to listen for signs of revolt. They expected to hear panic, surrender, begging. But the transmissions from Earth were calm, quiet, and unreadable. The Council grew impatient. Threats were prepared. If Earth does not answer, we will crush them, the Grax declared. We will show the galaxy that disobedience has a price. And then, at last, the silence ended. On the 51st day, a message arrived. It was not long. It was not complex. The Council expected pleading. They expected cries for mercy. They expected words of submission. Instead, the signal from Earth carried only 4 words. We do not kneel. The chamber fell silent. The voices of hundreds of species froze in shock. Some stared at one another in disbelief, as if the translation could not be correct. Others whispered in anger, calling it madness, suicide. But deep in the shadows of the hall, a few old species, those who remembered ancient wars, felt a chill run through them. They knew what those words meant. Humanity had chosen defiance. Peace had failed. And when peace failed with humans, war was never far behind. The Council tried to laugh. Foolish, the Grax hissed. Empty words. They cannot stand against the might of the galaxy. But no one laughed loudly. For across the stars, fleets were already moving. And unknown to the Council, deep in the cold void of Sol, Terran warships were awakening. The galaxy had demanded peace on its own terms. Humanity had given its answer. The galaxy had not seen war like this in centuries. The Council had crushed rebellions before, silenced uprisings, even burned entire worlds. But what humanity brought was different. It was not wild chaos. It was not desperate resistance. It was controlled, precise, ruthless. Every week, another blow landed. Shipyards gone. Convoys erased. Patrol fleets ambushed. The Council's mighty order began to crack, piece by piece. Yet still, the Council refused to admit the truth. We are the law of the galaxy, the Grax Confederacy roared in the Council chamber. These humans are vermin. If we unite, we can still crush them. But the chamber was not united. The Varen League whispered of fear. The smaller races muttered of surrender. Even the proud Tsar Dominion had lost fleets they could not replace. And then came the message. It was broadcast on every channel, across every world, every station, every colony. The humans had spoken. The voice was strong, clear, unmistakably Terran. We asked for peace. You demanded chains. You thought us weak. You thought us afraid. Now, the galaxy will learn what it means to make war with humanity. The message played again and again, spreading like wildfire. On council worlds, citizens panicked. On border colonies, whispers turned into rebellion. Some species even began to question the council's rule. For the first time, the mighty council was not feared. Humanity was. In hidden war rooms, council leaders argued until their voices broke. They are destabilizing the galaxy, one shouted. They are inspiring the lesser races to rise against us, another added. If this continues, our empire will collapse. The Grax slammed their claws on the table. Then we will erase Earth itself. We will send everything we have. And so the plan was set. The largest fleet in history was to gather. More than 500 ships from across every major council power. They would march to Sol and they would burn humanity's home to ash. But the humans already knew. On the bridge of the Terran flagship Resolute, Admiral Kane studied the reports. A holographic map lit up before him, showing the mass of council ships moving through the stars. His officers looked uneasy. They are coming for Sol, Admiral. 500 ships. Maybe more. For a long moment, Kane was silent. Then, with calm certainty, he gave the order. Then we will not wait. We strike first. Gasps filled the command deck. But sir, they are moving with their full strength. To attack them head-on would be. Not head-on, Kane interrupted. His voice was like steel. We strike at the heart. At their capital. While their fleets march toward us, their own worlds will burn behind them. The officers stared at him in shock, then nodded. They understood. It was not just defense anymore. This was the next stage of war. The fleet was prepared. Engines lit up. Warships armed themselves. Hidden reserves joined the armada, ships the council never knew existed, dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the galaxy. For generations, humans had hidden their strength, building in silence, waiting for the day they would need it. That day had come. Across the stars, alien scouts picked up fragments of movement, massive signatures leaving Sol. At first they thought it was a retreat. Humans fleeing their doom. But then they saw the direction. Not away from the council. Toward it. The news spread like thunder. Terran fleets were not waiting for defense. They were marching toward the core worlds, the very seat of the Galactic Council. Panic exploded. Entire planets rioted. Some species begged for surrender. Others armed themselves, fearing the humans might come for them next. In the council chamber, chaos reigned. They dare march against us. Stop them before they reach the capital. Where are our fleets? But the fleets were already too far, drawn toward Sol in a desperate attempt to corner humanity. The path to the core was open. On the Resolute, Admiral Kane stood before his crew. His words were simple. The council gave us their terms. Now we give them ours. He raised his hand and the fleet surged forward. Dreadnoughts, carriers and cruisers slipped through the dark, moving in perfect silence. Their engines burned like stars. Their weapons were primed. Behind them, Earth watched. Ahead of them, the galaxy trembled. And then, one by one, council outposts along the way went dark. Stations shattered, defenses broken, colonies silenced. The humans were not coming as raiders. They were coming as conquerors. By the time the council realized their mistake, it was too late. The Terran fleet was already within striking distance of the capital. Billions of eyes looked to the skies in terror. For the first time in history, the mighty Galactic Council feared extinction. The battle had ended, but the galaxy was far from calm. Wreckage floated through space. Burned council ships, broken carriers, shattered drones. The humans had won, but their victory was not silent. Every nearby world had seen the Terran fleet in action. Every listening post had caught the transmissions. The galaxy trembled. In the council chambers, silence stretched for hours. Delegates refused to speak first. Every race that once mocked humans now remembered the fire that had destroyed entire fleets. They whispered to each other, "If this is humanity's answer to peace, what will they do in war?" At the heart of the chamber, the High Speaker finally spoke. "They rejected our terms," he said quietly. "They fought back with force. If we do nothing, every species will fear us for weakness." But fear already existed. Not of the Council. Not of old empires. Fear of Earth. Across the stars, colonies locked their doors. Armadas doubled their patrols. Spies scrambled to learn Terran secrets. Yet every report said the same thing. Earth had been quiet, patient, silent for decades, and then answered with warships stronger than expected. In secret, some species began to send messages to Earth. Not threats. Not demands. Offers. We will ally with you. We will trade. Teach us your weapons. It was unthinkable. Only days earlier, humanity had been ordered to surrender. Now, entire civilizations begged for their friendship. On Earth, the leaders of the Terran fleet watched the transmissions. They knew the galaxy was divided. Some still wanted war. Others wanted peace, but not on the Council's terms. On human terms. And so, a single Terran message was sent back into the void. Simple. Direct. Impossible to ignore. We came to the table with open hands. You offered chains. Now you see our answer. The next talks will not be on your terms, but ours. The galaxy listened. And for the first time in centuries, the Council had no reply. The stars themselves seemed to wait for Earth's next move. The defeat of the 60-ship armada shook the galaxy. No one had ever seen the Galactic Council lose so quickly, so completely. Entire fleets had fallen in minutes. Survivors carried stories of Terran weapons that broke through shields like paper, and warships that seemed to appear from the shadows themselves. But the Council refused to admit weakness. They used tricks, the Grax Confederacy hissed. Cowards' tactics. If we send a real fleet, hundreds of ships, they cannot stand. Yet even as the Council shouted about war, fear spread across the stars. Merchants whispered in docking bays. Soldiers doubted in silence. Ordinary citizens repeated one sentence again and again. The humans are coming. For Earth, the choice had already been made. Human leaders met in secret chambers deep beneath their capital. Generals and admirals studied maps of the galaxy. They knew the Council would not stop. The aliens wanted Earth disarmed, chained, and silent. But humanity had survived worse. On their homeworld, they had endured wars, plagues, and endless struggle. They had always been underestimated, and that had always been their greatest weapon. Now they would carry war into the stars. The order was simple: strike first. Strike hard. Show the galaxy that humanity will not bow. The first target was a Grax-controlled shipyard. It was considered one of the most secure in Council space, surrounded by heavy defenses, guarded by dozens of warships. For centuries no one had dared to attack it. The humans did not hesitate. In the dark void beyond the system, Terran warships gathered. They moved in silence, their engines hidden, their weapons primed. On the bridge of the Terran flagship Resolute, Admiral Kane gave the order. Begin the assault. The human fleet emerged from the dark like wolves. Railguns fired, missiles streaked, and beams of energy cut across the stars. The Grax defenders barely had time to react. Their sensors screamed warnings, but their commanders froze. They thought no fleet could travel undetected so deep into Council territory. They were wrong. Within minutes, the defenders were gone. The great shipyard, once the pride of the Grax Confederacy, exploded in a storm of fire. Pieces of broken ships and shattered metal rained into the void. The message was clear. No place was safe. Panic spread faster than fire. Across Council worlds, fear grew. On trading stations, alien merchants whispered, "Where will they strike next?" On mining colonies, workers refused to continue, fearing human fleets would appear from the shadows. The Council scrambled. Fleets were moved to defend their home systems. New alliances were discussed in secret chambers. But the fear was already too deep. The humans struck again. A Varan supply convoy vanished without a trace. A Tsar listening post was found shattered, its defenses torn apart. Entire patrol fleets were wiped out in ambushes. Each time, the humans gave the same warning, broadcast across all channels. We asked for peace. You chose chains. Now you will see war. But it was not just the weapons that frightened the Council. It was the way humans fought. They did not waste ships in glory. They did not march in endless lines. They struck where it hurt the most: supplies, fuel depots, shipyards, communications. Every attack crippled the Council's ability to fight back. It was war by precision, war by patience, war by predators. The galaxy began to change. Smaller species, once too afraid to resist the Council, started to watch Earth with new hope. If humans could fight back, maybe others could as well. The Council leaders sensed the shift. They grew desperate. We must crush them now, the Grax shouted. If we let this continue, the whole galaxy will rise against us. And so, the Council prepared its largest fleet in centuries. Hundreds of ships gathered, pulled from every sector. It was an armada built not just to fight, but to erase Earth from history. But humanity was watching. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Kane stood silent as reports arrived. "The Council has launched their great fleet," his officer said. "They are moving towards Seoul." The Admiral's expression hardened. "Then we will not wait for them to reach us." The Terran fleet turned, engines burning bright. Their target was not a shipyard, not a convoy. It was the very heart of the Galactic Council itself. The Galactic Council was restless. The disappearance of the scout fleet was a wound they could not hide. Rumors spread across the stars like fire on dry grass. Some whispered of hidden Terran weapons. Others swore humans had learned ancient technologies. The Council called emergency meetings, but every debate ended the same way, with fear and anger. "They dare to resist us," shouted the Grax Confederacy. "They think themselves equal to the galaxy's might? Then we will burn their world to ash." But other voices were not so sure. "They destroyed a fleet without a single trace," the Varen delegate warned softly. "We must tread carefully. There is something we do not see." The chamber shook with arguments. Pride battled against fear. And in the end, pride won. The Council would send another fleet. But this time it would not be 6 ships. It would be 60. When the alien armada arrived in Sol System, the stars seemed to vanish behind their numbers. 60 warships, bristling with cannons, shields glowing like suns. Their arrival sent shockwaves across every colony. From the bridge of the Grax flagship, the commander snarled with satisfaction. "Now they will learn what defiance brings." The fleet spread into formation, weapons locked on Earth itself. A transmission was sent. It echoed across Sol, every channel filled with the commander's voice. "Humans of Earth, you stand against the will of the galaxy. You will surrender your fleets, your weapons, and your freedom. Fail to obey and your world will burn. This is your final chance." The Council expected silence or begging or panic. But Earth remained quiet. Minutes passed. Then hours. The alien fleet grew restless. Soldiers muttered that perhaps the humans had already fled or worse were hiding like cowards. The commander prepared to fire on a Terran orbital station as a warning. But before he could give the order, the silence broke. A single Terran signal appeared on every ship's screen. The voice was calm, steady, and cold. "You came here for peace on your terms. You will leave with war on ours." The alien crews froze. Then their sensors lit up. Behind them, in front of them, above and below, human ships began to uncloak. They were not small patrols. They were massive warships, black steel against the stars, their hulls bristling with weapons the Council had never seen before. They had been there all along, hidden in the dark, watching. The alien commander's throat tightened. Impossible, they had nothing. One by one the Terran ships locked weapons. Their targeting beams painted the alien fleet in red light. For the first time, the Council's great armada realized they were not hunters. They were prey. The commander tried to rally his ships. "Fire. Destroy them before they strike." Energy blasts cut across space, a storm of plasma and light. Alien weapons slammed into Terran hulls, only to shatter against shields far stronger than anything the Council thought humans possessed. Then the humans answered. Terran cannons roared like thunder in the void. Railguns spat metal slugs at near light speed. Missiles streaked through space, vanishing into alien shields and ripping ships apart in brilliant flashes. The battle lasted only minutes. Alien ships fell one after another, crushed by firepower they could not match. The Grax flagship shook as explosions tore through its fleet. The commander's claws trembled. This cannot be. But it was. His fleet was dying and there was nothing he could do. On every surviving ship, alien officers screamed for retreat. But their jump drives were jammed. The humans had locked them in place. Then the Terran voice returned. "Come, Colt. Final. You came to demand surrender. Now you will leave in silence." And with that, half the alien fleet was gone in fire. The rest scattered, fleeing into the dark, broken and terrified. Only a handful survived to tell the story. When they returned to the Council chambers, their faces were pale, their voices shaking. "They are not weak," one survivor whispered. "They are not reckless. They are ready. Humanity has warships the galaxy has never seen. And they are waiting for us." The chamber fell into silence. For the first time in centuries, the Council had met an enemy that did not kneel. And somewhere in the shadows of Sol, Terran warships prowled, their guns still warm, waiting for the next move. The Council chamber had not been the same since Earth's reply. 4 words had cut through the pride of hundreds of species like a blade. "We do not kneel." Some called it madness. Others called it bravery. But none could ignore it. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Every trading port, Every military outpost, every colony on the edge of known space repeated the story. A single world had stood against the will of the entire council. At first, most species laughed. "It is only noise," said the Grax Confederacy. "Humans will regret their arrogance once the fleets arrive." But not everyone laughed. The Varen League, a cautious and soft-spoken people, quietly warned, "Humans are unpredictable. When they say such words, it is not weakness, it is a promise." Still, the council pushed forward. To crush the whispers, they needed proof. They needed to show the galaxy that humans were weak, that Earth was powerless. So they sent their spies. Alien agents moved through human space in silence. They pretended to be merchants, explorers, even scholars. Their mission was simple: report on Earth's strength. Find cracks in their defenses. Bring back signs of fear. At first, the reports looked promising. The spies wrote of small fleets, outdated ships, and colonies with little defense. Some worlds even seemed quiet, almost too quiet. But then strange details began to appear. A merchant ship near Mars swore it saw a massive station under construction. But when Council satellites scanned, nothing was there. A scout near Titan picked up strange signals, coded in ways no one could break. A traveler through the asteroid belt claimed to see huge engines buried in the rocks, hidden from all detection. The reports grew confusing. Some showed weakness, others hinted at something far more dangerous. The Council ignored the warnings. "It is human bluffing," the Tsar Dominion said. "They build shadows to scare us." But still the whispers spread. Every passing week, more stories appeared. Human colonies that were supposed to be undefended had new fortresses. Ships thought to be outdated suddenly showed upgraded weapons. Communication lines went dark without reason. And then one day a scout fleet of 6 alien ships entered Sol System itself. Their orders were clear: fly close to Earth, display strength, demand surrender. If humans refused, destroy one of their stations as a warning. The fleet entered silently, their weapons ready. From the bridge of the Grax flagship, the commander smiled. "Soon the humans will kneel." But Earth did not respond. The fleet moved closer. Their sensors scanned the system. They found small patrol ships, some mining vessels, nothing threatening. Confidence grew. "Prepare to fire on the station," the commander ordered. The fleet's weapons charged. Energy filled the dark void. For a moment, victory seemed certain. And then, everything changed. One by one, the alien ships reported strange malfunctions. Engines flickered. Shields collapsed without warning. Weapons went cold. Confusion filled the comms. What is happening? Who is attacking us? But there was no enemy ship in sight. Only silence. Then the first ship vanished. Not destroyed, not even an explosion. Simply gone. A bright flash and then nothing. Panic spread across the fleet. The commander shouted for answers, but none came. Another ship vanished and another until only 2 remained. "Retreat," the commander ordered. "Get us out of here." But their jump drives failed. Something was blocking them, holding them in the system like insects in a web. The last transmission from the Grax commander reached the council 3 days later. His voice was filled with terror. "They're not weak. We never even saw them. The humans are waiting for us in the dark." Then his signal cut off. The scout fleet never returned. The council tried to hide the news, but the galaxy already knew. Rumors spread faster than truth. "The humans destroyed them," people whispered. "The Terrans are building something. Something the council cannot see." And for the first time in centuries, the mighty Galactic Council felt fear. The silence of Earth was no longer weakness. It was the silence of predators before they strike.